the fallout continues from yesterday's Jeff Ulbrich presser. And again, a couple of the quotes that stand out. He and Raheem Morris and his defensive assistants, the goal is creating a scheme that has never been done before. I mean, I guess you're going to aim high if you're going to aim, right?
Sure. Yeah. I really feel that this group is the one to reinvent the wheel. I get that sense that if I was going to ask for something that's never been done before, I mean, he's playing a 2-9, and I do think that's really bold of them. And it will be, if it works, perhaps they will get credit. They'll be in the books like Bill Walsh on the offensive side of the game.
And look, whether you believe this or not, it's easier. Our job is easier when the Falcons win. We want the Falcons to win. Again, whether you believe that or not, but when you hear things like you heard yesterday, when you hear things like you heard all season long, and more importantly, you didn't get the results toward the end of the season, it's tough to be positive. They make it too easy for us to be negative.
This thing's just getting started.
I'm okay with myself. I don't sleep at night, but it's not because of things that I say. I will tell you when I'm about to be a jerk. I will tell you when I'm dealing from both the top and the bottom of the deck. I will absolutely do those things. I don't want to play shot doctor. But I am going to say when I hear things, what he said, what he meant, what he said, how that's insulting. These are games that I play. And to have a guy say he now works for the best coach in the NFL, we're going to do something that's never been done before. For $100, I'm going to say this again, for $100, if they gave me $100, I could have had that guy come out. Nobody would have been talking about the press conference. They just would have said, oh, they introduced their defensive coordinator, time to go to work. For $100, I could have figured this all out. Do you know what they did instead? They let a guy who, whether he's ill-prepared, stupid, combination of both, I can throw a couple of other words around, but then I would be taking shots. He sounded like a dope because...
It sounds like you're taking shots. You said stupid and a dope. I'm just... Oh, on the other side of the room here, I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Independent observer.
Am I wrong?
He didn't help his cause yesterday.
This should have been about the Falcons introduced their DC. Now, do you want to know what gets him off the hook? Other idiot head coaches spoke yesterday, and they were lined up. They were lined up like jets on the stupid runway.
I was going to say, we'll get into that.
The runway of stupid was fully loaded yesterday.
It was quite the day. Some owners as well. But Jeff Ulbrich, the one thing that was kind of interesting to me that he said yesterday, don't forget he was here with Dan Quinn, and they had the Legion of Boom, the Seattle-style defense. And he said the difference now versus then is he said back then when things started to go sideways, there was no plan B. No. So that's a shot at Dan Quinn.
No. Can I tell you what
That's how I took it.
No, I thought he was talking about with quarterbacks. I thought he was talking about the offensive side. Now you have scramblers. Now you have guys who extend plays more than ever.
He was talking about the last time and how the scheme has changed. That was when he was talking about multiplicity. To me, unless I completely misread this, I took out of that the fact that they had no adjustment ability the last time he was a part of this defense.
Wasn't he a part of this?
Yeah, he was.
So isn't he basically telling you, again, I had to go to the Jets. I didn't want to, but I had to go get life and world experience. I don't even know what he was talking about with that. What in God's green earth are you bringing up the idea that I went away for 4 years like he went to Tibet?
He went to college. Remember, that's what LeBron said when he left to go to Miami and came back to Cleveland. I left a boy and I came back a man. Maybe that's what Jeff Ulbrich is saying to a certain extent.
All of a sudden, he's Christian Bale in the Batman. He went up the mountain and he learned all these secrets.
And like I said,
he's
maybe
Brad Pitt.
When all is said and done, they make us eat the words.
No. Please don't do this. I'm not giving you a chance to set me up for this. I'll speak for myself, and here's what I'll say. You can't really get any worse if you blow an opportunity to go to the postseason because your defense stinks. So what am I going to do if I tick it up? And by the way, they've been trying to hire people in the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball to just tick things up. I'm not asking. Look, 4-13 to the NFC Championship game. Take that out of your mind. Sure, it's possible. That's what I keep hearing. It's possible in a year. Okay, but it's not probable. All this group has to do is tick up better, not give away games when you have a chance to go to the postseason. I'm not giving them credit for that.
But they have to make the postseason. If they don't make the postseason, everybody's gone.
So what are they going to do? They go 9-8. I'm supposed to go, oh, maybe we were wrong. I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, you have a draft. Second-year guys become third-year guys. Third-year guys become fourth-year guys. You bring, 4 3 guys who can play in out of the draft and 1 in free agency. I'm not giving them credit.
Well, let me ask you
this.
What would make you give them credit? What would they have to do next year to say, I was wrong?
Okay, here's what defensively. If I think that there's one offensive coordinator or one offensive-driven head coach who I believe now says, man, we got a bitch of a week coming up. Got to get ready for the Falcons defense. That Legion of Boom. We had Dan Quinn on, and I don't care what you think about him. You don't have to like him. You can be very happy he lost. One of the conversations we had very early on, and I think it was the first one we ever had with him up at the building, I want you to know that you played us. This is a defensive-minded coach.
You'll feel it the next week.
You will
be
lose
affected.
the next week.
Right. You'll be affected.
So
to that extent.
The Legion of Boom thing is interesting because here's my problem with that. Quarterbacks don't let you get square shots on them anymore. The league isn't full of Kirk Cousins. It's not full of statues. I thought what he was saying is it used to be that if you got a quarterback off a spot, the next guy would hit him because that's the only place he can go was up or to the side.
Well, he talked about that later on, that's for sure. He also talked about the way his football brain has changed. Still has to do with what you talked about, the multiplicity of the game, inserting more variety, more coverage, more scheme. That part I get. Just for the sake of taking shots, not going to do it here.
Oh, no. It's a different game.
The game is different. You're not going to say I'm a 3-4, I'm a 4-3.
It's dumb.
I mean, your base defense now is essentially your nickel defense.
Right.
That's what it is.
And if you have a 4-3, you got 12 on the field. Poop, penalty. You got a 3-4, you got 5 DBs. Poop, penalty. Then I'm really going to know that you really weren't at college or you were at you were at a community college maybe. Now,
which isn't really college.
Well,
we've gone over this before.
Well, they give out GPAs like it's college. They're great.
I saw a couple of collies at one of those community colleges up there in Ohio.
But you know what I saw at Middlesex County College? I haven't told this story in 20 years. I was in a genetics class. Genetics. Now, again, it wasn't real in-depth genetics. It was just sort of those 4 boxes, and you go, oh, yeah, if you have blue eyes, if you have blue eyes and your wife has brown eyes, and then you don't, whatever, that's what it was. I swear to God, I had a guy, I've told this before, I had a guy go up to the board, like it was a chalkboard back then because I'm old. He literally had to take chalk. This wasn't
dry erase.
No, it wasn't one of them fancy boards. And he started to do some stuff. He said, and this will eliminate cancer. I said, thank you. We can all go home now. It's solved.
So he cured cancer at a community college.
He went up to the board with a piece of chalk.
That guy was definitely drinking.
And we were talking about blue eyes and brown eyes.
If you mix the blue and the brown, cancer's gone.
With a little bit of, there was some plant stuff in there too.
Again.
Like photosynthesis. And all of a sudden, my man. Mm-hmm. And if you just do this.
Sure.
I applauded. I went, yeah.
Much like today's NFL.
Tell my Nana she's going to make it.
Right. Much like today's NFL defense, things are a little bit more complicated.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy with Jeff Ulbrich, though, by the way, because I'm glad now. His little fontanelles have closed up.
Mm-hmm. There's no more soft spots in his head?
Yeah, that's what a fontanelle is. I don't really know. Do you not know?
Your skull is ever developing until you reach a certain age.
Right. That's what he just said. He is developed now.
Right.
His fontanelles have all closed.
I don't think mine have closed yet, but that's another story for another time.
I look at the size of your head. Boy, if they're still going.
So he talked about
what kind of baby's fontanelles.
It's funny you brought up.
Remember when you hold a baby?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, watch the little fontanelles.
Indeed. So you brought up teaching, and Jeff Ulbrich, in fact, talked about what kind of a teacher he is for the people that have never worked with him before. He said, I try to say that I adapt as best as I can to every learner. So I put a lot into learning the new age learner, where the phone has become an appendage. See, this is where he just makes it.
What are you doing?
He just makes it too easy.
What are you doing? You know what? He would have been better off just saying, I would like to be referred to as Professor Ulbrich, and I've got to go now. We're going to get better next year, I promise. I want to be known as Professor, and then just leave the podium. Do you understand if he would have just done this? If he would have walked to the podium and said, you know, wasn't good enough around here defensively, and we're going to get better, and I would like to be known as Professor Ulbrich. And if he would have left right at that moment, I would give him less crap than I'm giving him now. Because he kept just giving me, there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one.
He just puts it on a tee for you.
Like he just found the secret of Nim. He's the one. He's figured this all out.
And Josh Kendall from The Athletic, who does join Chuck and Chernoff during the season, the Falcons beat reporter, Buck mentioned it this morning as well, wrote a very fine article, pulling some of the quotes from that article. This is something else that he said on creating something defensively that hasn't been seen before. Yeah. This is the quote. Yeah. That's Raheem, as you guys know. He has an amazing brain that way. He's got the beautiful mind. I just got to let you go now. I have to let you go now. You can't be here.
He would have been better off. Give me a couple.
I don't mean to pile on, but I can't help it.
Oh, the places you will go. He could have broken out the Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You Will Go, and read the whole thing. It only takes 2 minutes. It's one of the great scams of all time. That Dr. Seuss, it was incredible. Not a lot of words, some pictures, and then the guy sold tens of millions of books. Whatever.
It's funny what works and what doesn't.
If Jeff Ulbrich would have gotten up there, do you guys know Oh, the Places We Will Go?
Yeah.
Do you really?
I mean, it's been years. I can't quote it.
So it was the last Dr. Seuss book written. He was like 86 years old. And this is the one, and I fell prey to it. You give it to high school graduates and college graduates. It became like a really hot present a number of years ago because it's all about the things you'll see, what to run towards, what to sort of get away from. But it's a Dr. Seuss book. If he would have read that, not announcing it was a Dr. Seuss book, if he would have read that whole thing, I would have said, I don't really understand it, but he gave us more ammunition to talk about the idea that he's speaking to Falcons fans and he's saying these things. What Falcon fan right now do you think is falling for this? What Falcon fan is saying, wow, you know what, I wasn't sure about this guy before that press conference started.
There's always going to be a percentage of fans that are diehards that are just going to hope for the best and believe in it. But remember, prior to him saying anything, people were not impressed with this hire because it was based on the buddy system. I don't think he helped himself yesterday.
Here's what's different. I don't know if he can do this better than the last guy. I don't. He doesn't either. And then he went into all this other stuff. Raheem Morris doesn't know. Arthur Blank doesn't know.
Talked about the interview. I thought the questions were very thorough. He asked amazing questions. That's a quote, folks.
This won't end. This won't end.
Unbelievable growth.
What Falcon fan heard this and said,
I don't know.
That's my guy. Woo.
It's going to be our defense.
I mean, if you hear that, you got to say to yourself, what is happening here? What are we doing here?
You're cooking with gas.
He so desperately wants to handy the guys that just hired him that he's going to tell you that not only that, they ask amazing questions around here. He's got a beautiful mind. I'm pretty sure that Raheem Morris was looking up at his imaginary kid and his English friend up on that board all during last season. You want to play the game, I'll play the game. That's what I think he was looking for. I wonder if my imaginary friend is going to show up there again.
He was John Nash last year, and he wasn't because he didn't have the right answers. Maybe the imaginary defensive coordinators would have been better. But that's where it stands right now at Flowery Branch with the Senior Bowl this week and the draft right around the bend.